Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, why not click the like, the subscribe, and join the BTP army. Around about 91 strong. Surely you can get us to 100. We're just about there. So yeah, click that subscribe button and join in with the chat below. Today is a podcast which I didn't really feel like doing, if I'm honest. Obviously, we're a couple of days after the England defeat to Italy. I'm obviously joined by my co-host and Italian counterpart, Ty, who's absolutely buzzing with the results. And I've got to be honest, this was one that I was not looking forward to. But with the reaction, with the game, I think it's only right that we do it justice. It was a fabulous game at the end of the day. The tournament was absolutely brilliant. And even though it didn't go the way we wanted to, I think a lot of people did us proud. Obviously, we're going to touch on a little bit of the aftermath and things that didn't go quite the way that you would expect. But I think it's only right that we focus on the good rather than bad first. So with that being said, I personally watched the game at my friend's house. I was actually offered a ticket by Ty. Ty actually managed to get a ticket. He's going to go into great detail how he got those, how lucky he was to actually get those at lastsecond.com. And I ended up watching it at my friend's house. It was a good atmosphere. Really enjoyed it. There was a lot of kids running around, which is, I'll keep that to a minimum. But yeah, Ty, how was Wembley?
Yeah, like you talk about moments in your life that will stick with you forever. We said that I said after the semi-final, but this one even more. Complete underdog. The atmosphere was something I've never experienced before. Some horrific stuff I saw as well. I won't talk too much about, but we'll touch on it in a bit. But just unbelievable experience. Obviously, paid quite a bit for it. It was weird because we'd just done the preview show for the final, and I went downstairs and I checked my emails, and I got an email from UEFA tickets available for Italy fans. So as you would, log on. I managed to get in 15-minute wait to get in, and there's two tickets. Like on the Wednesday ones were peanuts are like 80 quid. So I'm like, all right, I'm hoping for something here. It was like 600. And I still put two down. I tried ringing you, but you didn't answer. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna buy him anyway. I'm sure he wouldn't come. But they were in the Italy end. So I bought two, managed to get through, bought them. And then you rang me back, and then you were like, oh, I don't think I can sit in the Italy end and be an England fan and not be able to cheer and stuff. And I'm like, I get it.
Just to be clear, so like obviously a lot of people will be like, why the hell are you passing up those tickets? I've been to Middlesbrough versus Liverpool before, and obviously being a big Liverpool fan, I live in Middlesbrough, and I sat in the Middlesbrough end, and I remember Steven Gerrard stanching one in right near the end of the game, and I could not celebrate, and inside I'm dying to jump about, and it was a goal to equalise, and Middlesbrough scored early in the game, and it absolutely killed me when everybody celebrated around me, and I just felt like it was going to be that, but 10 times worse because of what was at stake. So in the end, obviously Ty's going to tell you why it didn't even really matter. I should have went.
Yeah, so Kristian obviously said no. I've put it up on Twitter, and I got some ridiculous offers, a lot more than what it was. I looked on Twitter anyway, how many tickets were for 3-4 grand. So effectively 6, 7, 8 times what people had paid for them. So I managed. It was a long story short. Anyway, someone was supposed to get him, but they didn't. One of my mates, who I've known for the best part of quarter of a century, rang me by chance on Saturday after I'd been to Anfield on the stadium tour, and I said, I've got him due on him. You'll be in Italy, and he's you couldn't turn him down, so he snapped him up. We went down. He's an England fan. I'm an Italy fan. The whole atmosphere going in. Me and you both went to the Spain game, and I went, loud and proud of me, Italy top, and I just walked through, nothing on top. I was comfortable with it. But my mate said, "Don't," and it just felt a bit different today. And I was slightly nervous in that I knew there'd be a lot of fans, and you don't always get the nice kind of fans. So I had my hoodie and I zipped up and I walked through Wembley Way. For those that know Wembley, sort of near where Box Park is, around there, and it was just absolutely mental. We've put some pictures, we've put some videos up on our Twitter feed if you want to have a sort of look and a feel for what it's like. There was a horrible, nasty edge to it, and I kept zipped up. There's no Italian fans, all English fans. Not too savoury football songs, but I don't think there's any nice football songs anyway. And there were beer cans being thrown up in the air, people just chatting, so could land on anyone's head, cause some real damage. And it was a constant theme for about 20 minutes. So we sort of stood around, but waiting for Wembley to open so we can walk through, and I was zipped up as well. And it was getting hot. I'm sweating, but I can't take my hoodie off now because if I do, I'm getting filled in. So anyway, I managed to walk past. I felt a bit more comfortable. Saw a couple of Italians. I'd take the top off here. The fan atmosphere seemed to be a bit better, and I was like, well, I'm comfortable here. Anyway,
could I just ask, what time were you approaching Wembley?
So we got there for around 4:00. Our entrance was between 5 and half 5.
Okay.
So we were there for about 40 minutes. But
so probably a good job that you actually got there a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, part of me was thinking I really want to be out of this environment. I want to be in the stadium because I just thought I'll be safe in the stadium, which wasn't necessarily true, as we'll find out in a bit. As I went walking along Wembley Way, saw an Italian family. Some guys just walked up to with full cans of beer, just threw them at them. It was, there was no police, no security, just an absolute shit show. I just carried on walking with my mate. We managed to get through the security. We showed our COVID passes, scanned our tickets, went through, got to the front of the turnstiles, and then turnstile stopped. I went in and he went read it, so the guy said it's already been scanned. Absolutely shit my pants. So this can't be happening.
Yeah.
And then some steward comes through and he said, "Oh, we've just stopped them all," to the sort of security guy. I was like, all right, we're just gonna have to wait. Must have waited for about 20 minutes here. Anyway, eventually opened up, and it's my turn to go in. Sort of my turn to go in. There was a guy right up my backside, like literally. There's no care about personal space. I just didn't feel right. So as I've scanned it and gone through, he's trying to push in alongside me to get in, and I've pushed him back. Do you know what I mean? Because I know I could feel him. I've pushed him back. I've kept it under my wallet as well, thinking this ain't right. Yeah. So I've pushed him back, and he's gone back, and he sort of had this smile on his face, and he ran away, knowing he's not gone through. So I've gone through, and I'm thinking that's not a good start. Anyway, I walked through to where the gate, where we are, and it's full of England fans. Like, I'm fairly sure this is Italy, and I thought there'd be a bit more Italy fans. Anyway, went around, there's a few more Italy fans. Anyway, got to my seats, and I was like, these are good seats on the corner. Do you know what I mean? We can see everything. This is good. Yeah. Happy with this. There was an Italian in front of me, 3 Italians to my left, a couple behind, and then there's another couple there. So it's pretty about 8 or 9 Italian fans amongst about 1,000. It was majority of English fans. That's when I rang in. I said, "You've missed out here. It's pretty much in England then."
Yeah, you did, yeah.
But then as the sort of games, were progressing, sorry, not progressing, the game, build up to the game, the atmosphere was good. But then it got a bit nasty in that you'd start getting fans coming through without tickets and standing on the stairs. So we were on the edge, so we couldn't literally run out. So if anything happened, we were blocked in. Everyone in front was standing up as well. And there was no security, no police. The atmosphere was getting kind of nasty as well. Quite a bit of abuse thrown at Italians. Not nice at all. Do you know what I mean? There was the Italian couple behind us were getting absolutely hammered by this yob. They had a few mates with them as well. They were all cut from the same cloth. And they were just saying, "Fuck off, you Italian slag, what are you doing here?" Do you know what I mean? Like really nasty up in their face. Now obviously I'm an Italian fan, but I still live in this country. Now my thinking is these Italians are going to probably think this is what all English fans are. Now I know it's not, but even though it's a minority, it was a big minority that day.
Yeah. The problem that you have obviously is, you've got people around who is brave enough at that moment to step into somebody.
That's the guy, Chris. The guy was massive. Do you know? I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'2". You know what I mean? He was bigger than. Must have been 18 stone, massive. You know what I mean? He won't going to chase you up, but if he hits you, you're going to get caught. Anyway, just towards the end of the game, after he had won, the same guy. I've looked to my left and he's walking. There's the lone Italian in front of me celebrating. We all are, and he's got his eyes on him, and he's taken a step out and he's gone to punch him. And I've stepped across and put my arm out like that, and he's sort of lost his balance a bit and has gone forward, and he's ended up being an air punch. Now I alerted him, and we've sort of separated it, and I said, just back up. Do you know what I mean? And a few of them, because that could not, because if the kid's looking either way, and he's about 8 stone wet through, the other guy's twice his size, twice his weight. Do you know, if he catches him, there's nothing around. So it was just, I don't know, it was just sort of instinct, and I sort of thought I was just a bit pissed off with it all from the start. So it's probably a bit of my own emotions and anger just of how the whole thing were going. And Italy had just won, and I was ecstatic. Anyway, eventually it all sort of, we had enough people to sort of stop it and get involved and to tell him to fuck off basically. Anyway, and And we had fans going up, and I'd immediately top on people who were shaking my hand saying, well, then I was like, it's a horrible way to lose, you know what I mean? Like I said, I mean, you're one of my best mates, and I've got lots of friends and family. We're all my friends and family are English fans, you know, so
Yeah.
I feel for them, but I don't feel for the yobs, for the thugs, because they're still going to cheat, do you know what I mean? And then there was a couple that were walking up, a couple of lads walking up, and they just sort of threw some at me, and they just sort of said, basically, fuck you, do you know what I mean? And said, well, we'll see you outside, like that. And I knew I was staying in for a good while. You know, we're going to watch a full celebration. I'm going to make sure I'm here for a good hour and a half, and I'm going to take my time home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not rushing for a beating.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not meeting anyone outside. You know. Anyway, so end of the game, we're walking back to the car. I've zipped up again. A policeman runs past me, and I can hear his radio going, "Yeah, someone's been, guy's been stabbed front and on his chest and on the side." I'm like, what the fuck have I come to here? You know what I mean? But it was just, I mean, I just take that bit apart, all that side. It was still brilliant. That was just basically the bad side of it. But the actual game atmosphere, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a real shame, obviously, because we're kind of auditioning for the 2030, World Cup. It's us and Ireland, and obviously we can't shut ourselves in the foot. Now, obviously, it's not the majority of the fans. It is the minority, but it is a large minority. I think the capacity for the game was around about 60,000, which was, I think, the same in the semi-final. And like you said, when we went there, the fans could mingle, and it must have been night and day between the two atmospheres. And from what I gather, I've been listening to a lot of reports and news today. There's a couple of things on TalkSport where they were talking that one steward report, he said there must have been 70,000 people in there. So let's take him at his word, maybe 5,000 to 10,000 extra. How do you manage to get 5,000 to 10,000 extra people in there, especially with the police and especially with the student? Now, I can kind of forgive the student because who's going to jump in the way for minimum wage? You can only do so much, but police presence has got to be absolutely huge for this. We know what's at stake. This has never been in this country since 1966.
Do you know? We talk about police presence. Only time I saw police presence was when they ran at the bottom. Where the sort of barriers at right at the bottom. Where the hoardings are. Sorry, on just basically pitch side. And I saw them walking out. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing there? The problems are up here. And even amongst all that, they still got a streak on the pitch. I don't know if you guys caught that. Got a bit
yeah. Well, all we kept on hearing was, "Way!" So he must have been doing a good job.
Yeah, he was. And there was the stewards were trying to catch him. They couldn't catch. You know what I mean? He was not. Again, even he got through. And there was the policing was just a shambles. They're saying, a few hundred got through. A lot more than a few hundred got through. There was probably near enough 1,000 here. Where outside, we couldn't move. There was a guy who said, "Oh, I've got tickets in the Italian," and but was walked over to where we were. So you could just stand near the English fan. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is just not right.
It's not terrace. Yeah, it's not a terrace.
Yeah,
there was reports that they were coming in and they were opening up a fire door. So that's why quite a lot of them did actually manage to get through. Now, surely it shouldn't be that easy to get through. All I can think of is, imagine we were at capacity. Let's say it was 90. I don't know how much Wembley holds. Let's say 90,000.
Yeah.
If that was full to capacity and you're adding an extra 10,000 odd people in there, it's potential for another Hillsborough. And the infrastructure and that is a lot better now than what it is back then. But the potential is still there. And I remember going to Wembley in the semi-final, and found it weird when we got off the tube. There wasn't a ticket check. Anyone could be in that Wembley way. They just got to get off the tube at Wembley, and they could walk along Wembley way, and they could mingle up until the barriers.
Yeah.
Now, I thought that we were going to, as soon as we get off the tube, you'd have kind of a ticket check. Have you got your ticket? Yeah, you're allowed through, type thing. And it just doesn't seem. I just don't know whether. I think was Wembley built in 2007 time, so 2007, 2008.
Around that's the new Wembley. Around that time, so it's mid 2000s, yeah.
And I don't know whether now it's fit for purpose, judging just going off this game solely alone, because it's flats everywhere. There's flats all around it. I just don't know whether it should have been an open area, fan park, maybe more sections where security checks can be done. Right, are your tickets? Have you got tickets? You're allowed in the Wembley way area, because it's just asking for trouble. If all fans would want to mingle with the England fans going in, but it just takes a couple of yobs to do the extreme and then going. But 15% extra people went in yesterday. Again, sorry, one more thing. Mancini's son had to sit on the steps for the full, I think the full first half because someone was in his seats. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I heard the same. Quite a few. Some of the England players' families members had to do the same. They just did not feel safe. It was like all the stories you hear, to be part of it. Normally a vast majority of us listening and viewing this will know that what you do is you hear it on the news and you sort of put it aside like, oh, it's just, to actually be part of it and be right in the middle of it and see it. And I can't get my head around how Wembley, how the FA have monumentally cocked up, and that is it. There's responsibility. I heard something say, yeah, we'll have a full review. What the fuck is that going to do now? These people, the damage is done. People aren't going to go to an England game again. They're not going to take their families. You know what I mean? I will never go watch an England game again. I won't take my family.
That's what I was just about to ask. Yeah, did you feel under threat? Did you would you take your family again?
No, I'd never. I mean, I've been to watch England at Elland Road when I took Jasmine, and that was the first time she went the flag, and it felt like an party atmosphere. It was different. This is different, but you don't want to wait till you get there to decide if it's a party atmosphere. It's got a horrible undercurrent. The whole thing had a nasty feel to it. There was a xenophobic, racist element to the fans as well. The stuff that was being said. When Rashford and Sancho and Saka missed, there was anger from certain fans, and you knew it was racially charged. And when Saka missed, obviously I'm over the moon Italy have won, but I knew that I'm gonna be walking home. I'm gonna be driving home to news of racist abuse. 100%. And I think we all knew it. We know what's going to happen. It's the same fans. It's the same ones. They'll cheer them when they score, but when they miss, they'll just, they'll say what they want to say. They'll throw the monkey emojis in. They'll be, using vile language. And it's the same thing over and over again. Now, that is a cancer within society. Now, the bit that's really pissing me off is a lack of planning from the FA, and they've got to be held to account for this. They knew about this. They knew it was the biggest game. The lack of policing, the lack of security. Get some proper security guards in. Do you know what I mean? Not kids who are like 18 or 23 and like 8 stone wet through against absolute thugs. Do you know what I mean? They had no chance. Get some proper police there. At the end of the game, when we're walking out, there were a police. But I'm just like thinking, fucking. It's a bit late. Do you know what I mean?
We're quite soft as a country, I believe. In our policing aspects. I think if this was in any other country like Spain or anything like that, I don't think you'd have tear gas. Perhaps you'd have to disperse crowds, and I don't think it helps. A lot of the time we do justify it was used as a different way, but words like mobilisation. Remember when Gary Neville was speaking about fans need to mobilise, and I understand what he meant. He meant it in a way where peaceful marches and stuff like that. But when you're using language like that, certain fans will take it other ways, and they feel like, oh yeah, it's okay for us to be in massive groups, and we can take on just about anything. I know what we all. The sensible person knows what Gary Neville was referring to, but when you're using language like that in the media, they kind of justify it in their own mind.
Just one final point on this before we move on and actually, talk about the game and the tournament itself. There's a huge link, and it's a huge issue, and it has been for decades. There's a drinking culture, obviously. I think there's a drinking culture within fans, and which is fine for some fans if they can handle it. The issue was on Sunday. You got fans getting smashed from 7, 8 in the morning, thinking it's cool. Game's not till 8 o'clock. They'll be on drugs. They'll be on alcohol. Do you know what I mean? There's a huge drinking culture within this country, which is like you've almost got to get drunk to go watch a game. I completely do not get that. I was just like, people, you've got to be sober. This is going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. You go watch this. We've got to get away from that, but unfortunately it's so ingrained in society that it's the right cool thing to do when you go watch a game of football. If you don't, you're somehow weaker, you're not representing your country. It's a stain on this country, and this is a good country as well, but the minority just have absolutely fucked it up for a lot of people. But we say minority, that minority was pretty big as well. You know what I mean?
When
When we talk thousands, it's big.
we've done it a couple of times where we've spoke on, taking the knee, and we've done like I thought a relatively unbiased podcast where we were like, right, reasons for taking the knee, reasons why we should probably stop it as it's lost its, meaning. This is exactly why we take the knee. Like this, like if anyone wants to ask why we do it, this is exactly why the players take the knee, because in reality, the response that the players got afterward by, again, the minority, and I want to say it is the minority because I like other people, I've gone back and forward through my mind, and if the outcome of the game and my happiness is shared with these thugs, I'd rather that we lost that game. But then think of all of the people, that have put up, the Rashford mural, which has been vandalised, and you think of how many people have went there and covered it over with messages of support and stuff like that. You're then sharing your fate with them, so it's a double-edged sword. But it's kind of ruined. Like, it took the tent off the edge of the tournament. Like, the players have done nothing but make us proud and everything like that with the issues that they constantly cover. I've never known an England team which you can be so proud of, like, tackling issues like homophobia, sexism, racism. They're just so amazing. Like, this type of thing is something that they'll just watch off the back. But it's just the minority just again ruin it for everyone.
No, absolutely. Right, okay, we said we were going to stop talking about this and we'll swiftly going to move along. Now we're going to talk about the good stuff, for me anyway, and maybe for you. So you obviously watched it on TV, watched the whole game. What's your thoughts? Just give us your thoughts on, obviously, from an England perspective.
So obviously, the result pretty devastating. I actually said England were going to win on penalties. I said that from the beginning of the game, but I should have known. I think it was just me, part speaking over my head as usual. And the start, obviously, it was absolutely amazing. I keep on going back to the point, you've got Luke Shaw of Manchester United, again, a Liverpool supporter, and you've got Jordan Pickford, who I thought was great on the day as well. And you just, all rivalries aside, you're absolutely buzzing. And Luke Shaw comes up with that finish. He starts off in left back. I think he wins the ball back, passes it off to the right-hand side, and then Harry Kane switches it, and then Luke Shaw continues to follow his run. Now, he's been getting a lot of crap off Jose Mourinho in the press recently, and I just think he's been absolutely brilliant this tournament. Like, towards the back end of the tournament, as the tournaments went on, he's improved, and he's more like what Man United bought. And when he scored that goal, it was just unbelievable. I honestly thought that we were going to go, right, there's 2, there's 3, and it was going to be a little bit comfortable. And in reality, it was never, ever going to be like that. We just scored way too early. And I just want to, like the next 20 minutes, I thought, push on. If we get another one, it's going to be our day. But in reality, the Italians did what the Italians do. They kind of weathered the storm and tried to figure out where we were strong, and obviously picked apart our weaknesses. And I just remember thinking, this can't last. These first 20 minutes, it can't last. At some point, the drop's going to come, but I didn't realise how soon the drop was going to come. And obviously it came. I'd say we dropped off after around about 20 minutes, and then obviously you guys started playing it. What about your thoughts on the first 20 minutes?
Exactly yours, but the opposite. So you've got to understand, the atmosphere in the stadium was just electric, something I'd never experienced before. They played for the first couple of minutes. Luke Shaw obviously scored. It felt the atmosphere was still at like 10 out of 10 at that time. And when he scored, literally the roof went. I've never experienced anything like it. I'm not cheering. There's me and there's about 9 Italians around us that are not cheering. Everyone else has just lost their shit and just gone over. And it was just like the whole stadium lifted. It was just a real surreal experience. And like you, the next sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I was thinking to myself, I was like, we've just got to stay in the game here. Just stay in the game. We've got to quieten the crowd. Because England weren't on top. They were just, and Italy couldn't get, and the emotion, you've got to understand, the emotion in the stadium must have sort of filtered through to the players as well, because it was hard. It would have been hard to play through that. But then that 20-minute period was, alongside the last 10 minutes of the Spain game in normal time, was the best bit of game management I think I've seen from an international country for a long time. Obviously, the Spain game, Spain are just equal. They had all the momentum. Italy stuck in the game, then they were the better side next time. I felt same thing. They stuck it out for the next 20, 25 minutes. And then after half an hour, I thought Italy were the better team. Once they got control of the game, the ball, you know what I mean? They got good composure, good tempo, and Jorginho Verratti started to dominate the game. But you're right, if that second goal went in, I think it would have been really tough for Italy to get to come back from that.
Yeah. Obviously, you guys took over, like I'd say, beyond the 20th minute, and you started passing the ball about. And I felt like the midfield three started it started to tell that you had three in there, and we only had we had three in there. We had Mason Mount, Phillips, and Rice, but I'm the biggest critic of Rice, but I thought he was absolutely outstanding in that game. And the reason why he was outstanding was because he was almost forced to do stuff that he wouldn't normally do. As we started dropping deeper and deeper and deeper, he had the ball, and when he was looking up, he couldn't see anyone practically beyond him. Harry Kane was maybe 5 yards away from him, and he had to dribble with the ball. He had to kind of use his weight, use his strength, and try and dribble us out and try and win a throw-in, so to speak. And I just thought, he tackled well. He just done so well. I thought it was probably his best game. And
it was really interesting. You said, I was watching the game. I was like, that's the first time I watched Declan Rice live. I'm like, he's just left his fucking best performance for me, and because I'm his fucking biggest critic. I'm like, it was like prime Steven Gerrard, just like bursting through. Like, what you
through, yeah. Because that's what I'm saying. He didn't have any other option. He couldn't pass it forward. He couldn't even pass it sideways because he was running onto the ball. He was tackling people. And as soon as he tackled people, there was just no one around him, and he just had to travel with the ball. And often enough, he was getting free kicks, he was getting throw-ins. I felt like Phillips, towards the end of the first half, I don't know whether he was tired, or whether he was just making bad decisions. A lot of the time, what he tried to do, I mentioned before, love Phillips. I think he's a really good player, good lad, and he just works tirelessly. But a lot of the time, this is not Leeds. This is England. They're not used to the press the way perhaps that Leeds are. And what he's doing is he's trying to press by himself. And anyone who plays the game knows that you cannot press by yourself. And it was just popping it around him. And he felt like he didn't know whether to engage. And eventually what happened is he realised, I'm just getting the ball popped around me. So he started dropping deeper and deeper. And I almost felt like as the half ended, Rice and Philip had practically come into a back seven almost, and we were just getting pushed back, and I was just begging for half time. How about you?
Yeah, no, same. I just felt, when I was watching the game, I just felt England they were literally on the edge of the box after, do you know what I mean? And the only threat was counter-attack, but Italy nullified it. I thought Sterling and Kane were, apart from the first 20 minutes, 25, I thought they were both really, really poor enough to quite easily make an argument for taking them off.
But,
Southgate
fell off a cliff. Yeah, Kane fell off a cliff. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously up against Chiellini and Bonucci, and they were just, you watch. We talk about centre half partnerships, right? You got Bonucci, who's he's the best passer of a football as a centre half, and you got Chiellini, who's not great on the ball, where he can do the basics. But my God, if you want someone to defend for your life, you are not going to find a better player than him or a better man than him. He does it all his passion. Do you know that one at the end when he pulls Saka back? I was the only one giving it one of them. I was like, I fucking love that. Because I know what he's trying to do, and I'm like opposite end to him. He's tried to sort of shield it, shepherd it out, but Saka's obviously got a toe around to it. And he's just like, get your ass back here. You know what I mean? And it was brilliant. It was yellow. And I applauded, and Chiellini just got over the hook. He was like, yeah, I'll have that. You know what I mean? So it's just knowing what to do and understanding and putting your body on the line. There was some brilliant last-ditch tackles from Chiellini as well, but there weren't many. Whenever Kane wanted to battle with Chiellini was like, I love a bit of that, and he won everything. Do you know what I mean?
It was no coincidence that Harry Kane's best work came away from Bonucci and Chiellini. He was dropping deep, and his best work was that link-up play. When he actually mingled in with them, he was getting no change whatsoever. But moving into obviously half-time, we went in with a 1-0 lead. What were your hopes for the second half? Were you hoping that he would change something?
No, because I thought once we'd weathered that first half an hour, 25 minutes, I thought we were the better team. We had good control.
Did you feel like the goal was coming?
I thought we needed to get around the sides a bit more. I thought we had good possession, but then I thought England were kind of like comfortable. There was no threat from England. That was my bet. I was like 1-0, such a dangerous scoreline. You know what I mean? Spain obviously scored late on, and I just thought, we are going to get a chance. We will get a chance. It's whether we take it or not. And it was funny. I had an England fan walking past. He saw me at the top, and we started talking. He said, "Oh, it was your close game. Yeah, you guys seem a bit." Yeah, I said to him as he walked by, I said, "Next goal wins it." And he just thought about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you're right." And as it panned out, that's what it was. So yeah, I was confident, but you've got to understand the amount. The home support was massive. You know what I mean? And I just thought you've got to fight through that and keep the crowd down as they did there, and the chance will come. You know what I mean? I thought it was important to get Chiesa on the ball as well, because he was the one that was going to cause the damage.
Yeah, it felt like to me like a very much like a boxing match. You start off full of energy, and you're swigging. You perhaps knock them down, and they've got up, and they've just continued to box away. And like you say, we just got deeper and deeper back. But I just remember, like, throughout this tournament, to be prior to the tournament, it's no secret we're no real big fans of. We're not really fans of Southgate, but as far as managing the team and managing the squad as a whole, and the way he's dealt with the press and everything, he's been absolutely brilliant. But we always felt like tactically, at some point, there would be a test, and this is where his test came. And I don't think he succeeded. I think he done quite poorly, to be honest, because it's obvious to the layman. We're watching the game. He has more information than us, but as you're watching the game, you're thinking we're getting deeper and deeper. A goal is going to come at some point. You need to bring the changes, do something different, and he just sat on his hands. Meanwhile, Mancini was ringing 3-4 changes, and then I think we'd made 2 substitutions in the times that the Italians had made 5, and it just goes to show how reactive Gareth Southgate is. He didn't change our formation. He didn't bring Jordan Henderson on until we were 1-0, until you had equalised. And it was a small tweak, but felt like it gave us that little bit of solidity once we went 1-1. He brought on obviously Jordan Henderson for Declan Rice, and instead of it being 2 in front of the back 4 with Mason Mount in front, it went Jordan Henderson and Mason Mount, and then Phillips dropping a bit deeper. So it enabled Henderson and Phillips to kind of push on, and maybe close the ball down a bit better and give your midfielders less time on the ball. And it kind of worked. Obviously, it ebbed and flowed towards the end. I think the Italians were like, right, we'd rather take it to extra time rather than getting a sneaky goal just to kill the game. But I just felt like we were okay up until the end of the game because of that formation change. I wish it came earlier.
Just watching the game, the goal was coming. That's what it felt like there, and that's what obviously the reports I've heard people saying. You're in the stadium, you sense it, you know it's coming. And obviously they've equalised, they've gone fucking batshit crazy. And then he makes a substitution, he's gone 4-3-3, he's got Saka, he's taken Trippier off and he's changed it up. Which okay, you've realised, but you're reactive. You can't suddenly make substitution and expect it to work straight away. The momentum, hardest thing in sport, and I've said this for years, is to change the direction of momentum. You can't change it. I don't know. People can say what they want. It doesn't change straight away. So England had to weather the next sort of 10, 15, and Italy were on top. The game could have gone. Italy had chances to kill the game there. The next big moment of the game was when Chiesa went off injured. Because he was
buzzing.
He was
absolutely buzzing.
Yeah. If he started the tournament, he'd have been the player of the tournament. So Chiesa went off injured, which was obviously a big blow for us. And then it went to extra time. And I still felt, there was moments in the extra time where I thought England, that they looked like they're going to do something, but we were still the team that looked most in control of the game.
I think you were very much in control from the 30th minute onwards. Yeah. I do think that we weren't really in the game that much.
Yeah,
it kills me knowing that everybody's thinking the same thing. React instead of. I know what he's thinking. If I change something and it goes wrong, then obviously the people are going to be saying, why did you change it? You can't have it both ways. But in reality, he's got to change it. He's got to do it earlier. But we knew that wasn't going to happen. So going into extra time, of course.
Yeah, so extra time, obviously, and I thought we were the better side, and there wasn't really anything clear cut. There was a couple of half chances, but I still felt, even if we went to penalties, I was slightly confident just because, and I've said it myself, we've got the best keeper in the world.
Have you watched it back?
I have.
There's a moment in the extra time where I felt like it was our Gaza moment. It was when a ball came across and John Stones, he must have been
when Donnarumma, and he just
I just thought if he'd touched it, that'd have been the moment. But
that would have been smash and grab. And obviously we were looking at the stats, you know what I mean? And Italy were dominant. They had 2/3 of possession. They had like 20 shots compared to 6. They had 6 on target compared to 1. So, we talk about England are unlucky, but England are lucky to get it to the penalty shootout, you know what I mean? And we can talk about England being defensive and managing the game well and getting it to penalty shootouts, but they didn't have a threat. It's all right not having the ball, but the Italy were still creating chances. They were still getting shots on target. So it's not like they did either thing really well.
It was an interesting stat. You mentioned the stats there. It was an interesting stat that I saw, that Italy had 5 bookings in the game and England had 1. And our booking was Maguire, and I think it was a stop. Like, it was kind of, it might not have been given, it could have been given. It was one of those. And I think back to game management, and we've obviously got Harry Kane on the pitch who was going down, he's using his body well, but in reality we've got nothing else. Like, for me, them 5 cards that the Italians had, I can pretty much remember all of them because they were like big tackles. There were Chiellini pulling back, there were Jorginho pretty much stamping on Jack Grealish. That was almost an orange. So you think of it was almost like the kind of, I'm not going to say they wanted it more, but they just had that little bit more in there, like a bit more desire towards the end of the game. And I just found that interesting that we just, in such a big game, we were so efficient with our yellow cards.
I just thought, for me, watching that back and when it got to the fact, Italy managed it well, but when it went to penalties and Italy went first, I was like, we got this. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how you felt. Obviously, you were there for the Spain game, weren't you? You know what I mean? How did you feel about that? When it came that England were going to go second. Did that cross your mind?
Yeah. Well, it did. But firstly, I just want to say that from you equalising, my mate asked me, would you take penalties? I said, absolutely yes. Because like you say, you cannot stop momentum. But yeah, going on to the penalties, I always feel confident in penalties, weirdly enough. I don't know why, being an England fan, but I just felt confident. But there was obviously the big moments, which I think a lot of people have got opinions on, of why we lost the penalty shootout. And I remember the ball didn't look like it was going out when Sancho and Rashford were on the side. And my mate was saying to me at the time, the ball's not going to go out here. And I was saying, I hope it doesn't go out, because I don't want someone coming on with their first kick being a penalty. And I know, obviously, you can have players who are experienced who can miss penalties. Mourinho said that he once had a penalty shootout with Real Madrid. He had Sergio Ramos, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Kaká first 3 penalties, and they all missed. So it does happen, but you've got to give yourself the best chance. And so when they were coming on, I was quite confident that Rashford would score a penalty, but I still thought it was a wrong decision bringing the 2 lads on who were just pulled. But yeah, I did feel confident, and obviously I think it was you guys missed first.
Yeah,
we did. In the back of my mind, I was thinking they also missed first against Spain as well. Which we were there.
I know.
So
for me, what they missed the first one, and then the cheering, and it was just electric again. And then obviously just fast forwarding to Jorginho's penalty, and he's stepping up, and I remember you saying, he's never going to miss, and I thought Jorginho doesn't miss this. But I think he just hesitated a tiny and Pickford's obviously gone the right way. Normally he waits for the keeper down, but Pickford sort of stood as long as big as he could, and then he's obviously gone and scored. And then Donnarumma just doing what Donnarumma does, and Bukayo Saka. I really felt for him. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I don't hate National England too well. It was the worst final for me, but yeah, I thought really, really felt for him a lot. You know what I mean? I see pictures afterwards him crying with his family. You know, I'm not buying the fact that people saying he's 19 and he should have done it. I think you can plan and do it anything you want. You know, if he wants to step up, or if Southgate think that's what they're going to do, it's fine. 19, you could be. You know, the two arguments: human experience, so you're fearless. I don't think it makes a difference who steps up. I think England, once the penalty was saved, they had to continue to keep that advantage for the next two, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they didn't hold the advantage for long enough.
I agree, and I don't. I agree with the fact that, you know, Rashford, like, you know, you obviously have Harry Kane, then you have Maguire, whose penalty was class, by the way.
Actually, I was watching that and I was like, is that really going in the top corner? Like, as he smashed that, it would just
the camera.
Yeah.
And I totally, and then obviously you guys missed it, and then I totally agree. I honestly believe that if Marcus Rashford scored that penalty, the other lads' chances will have went massively up.
Yeah,
and that was a big penalty, because obviously it's kind of like it's the pressure alleviates once you know you've got, like, you know, one in the bag. But I just think the order of the penalties and the penalty takers themselves, I just don't agree with it. Speaking from personal experience, and obviously it's nowhere near the level, but I was always a penalty taker, and throughout the penalty take, when we were taking penalty shootouts, I would always be number 4, because you never quite get to number 5, but number 4 is usually like a big pressure penalty.
Yeah.
Now, I only ever took the first penalty in one penalty shootout, and I remember that being the easiest penalty I ever took, because I knew I had 4 others to follow of my own players, and I knew there was, you know, obviously 5 other penalties from the other team, so there was a lot less pressure. So for me, Harry Kane should have been further down the pecking order. I think that the senior pros should have been told that they're taking penalties. I just want you to imagine that you're a young player and your manager says to you, "Do you want to take a penalty?" You're not going to say no to your manager. You're going to want to say yes to him. You're never ever going to say no to your manager.
No, I get that, but I don't think it's a case of him asking. I think this would already have been planned. I don't think England are at that stage now where they'll go around asking players whether they want to take it. This has already been organised. They're not going to have Rashford and Sancho coming on with a minute to spare if they thought. Do you know what I mean? So the whole thing has been planned. Even Saka being on it, it's all been planned. I mean, Rashford's come on and playing right back for the last 3 minutes. Italy were getting the ball out to the left side every time they got the ball because they liked to Rashford at right back. Do you know what I mean? So everything's been planned, and that's why they left the substitutions as late as they could. So the second thing, I mean, he's missed a penalty. It can happen to anyone. I mean,
I just think to be number 5, I don't see how he would be number 5. I'm okay with him taking a penalty, but number 5, you know, you had Jordan Henderson. You could have possibly had Kyle Walker.
Henderson went off, didn't he?
I know, but you could have made up other substitutions. It's so late on. You know, even Jordan Pickford, I think he was down to 6. I think he was down at the next penalty. You know, he can strike a ball. You know, you've got other options that were available. Luke Shaw, he was taking all of our set pieces. There's any amount of people that could have took that penalty, but like we said earlier, if you know, there's no blame attached. You know, the guy's brave enough to take the penalty, and you know, I feel so bad for him. And like you know, we're going back to earlier. I was just watching it, and I was like, the instant reaction was he's going to get so much hate, and that should never be the reaction.
No. So obviously Italy won it. I'm ecstatic, over the moon about it. And then they name the player of the tournament, and I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, as well as he's done Donnarumma, and I'm like, fuck me, he was about 10th on the day of the match. You know what I mean? So him to get it, I thought Jorginho or Bonucci got player of the final, but yeah, Donnarumma ended up getting player of the tournament.
I think that was a good choice in the end. I originally was like, wow, but you know, in reality, he was the difference between Spain and Italy, and Spain and Italy and England. He made the telling difference, and I found it quite funny. I was watching him and he saved it, and I thought, you are the coolest man I've ever known, because he just did not celebrate whatsoever. He was just walking off.
The thing is,
I hear, I hear later on in the day that he didn't even know that they'd won it.
Yeah,
But it was like kind of one of those cool guys don't look moments. And I just thought that was brilliant.
That's exactly what you didn't realise that they'd obviously won by then. Well, yeah, so for you, overall tournament experience, thoughts?
Yeah, I thought
Enjoy it?
it was brilliant because of, like, obviously we were involved all the way to the end. We could truly get behind this England team. It's not the best England 11 that we've ever had in our lifetime, but it's the best squad. And people like to use the word woke. This is a squad that is full of morals, to use the platforms for the right things. And it was easy to get behind this England team. So it was very easy to get attached to them. So the England team made it for me. I thought the tournament was really, really good. I still didn't like the fact that countries had to travel so far. I do think it was a very unfair advantage and an advantage to England throughout the tournament. And I just hope it goes back to the old format. But as an overall tournament, it was a success. I thought it was brilliant, and that rightly the best team won in the end.
Yeah, I agree pretty much everything you said. The only thing I will say is I think England, I must be the only minority, but I do think England have still got questions to answer. They've had 2 tournaments where they have had an unbelievably easy draw. Every time they've come up against someone challenging, they've come unstuck. You can say they've lost by a penalty shootout, but in reality, they were quite a way away from England.
I think it papers over the cracks, the penalty.
Yeah, of course it does. I think if we look across Europe, the reaction across Europe is that England is still classed as a second-tier team. They're not. Even France, obviously, they're not quite there when it comes to the nitty-gritty. They're not going to, really. If they won, it probably would have been classed as a Portugal last year, where Portugal is sort of like one of the dark horses. That's probably where England are classed as well. And I still think Southgate's got questions to answer in terms of keeping the ball against good teams, and they don't do that, and that obviously showed. And I know this is nothing new in international football. Ball possession's like absolute key. It's when you rest, it's when you play.
Has Southgate done enough to do his job?
Oh, he's got to the final. Even if they've got up there by hook or crook, he's not going anywhere. Staying there for the World Cup anyway next year. And I think next. England have to play. They've got to beat a team where they're not favourites or a challenging team. Do you know what I mean? Germany had a poor Germany team. I think everyone would realise. Anyone from all German fans are aware of that. And this is the first team that came up against Denmark. It was a lucky penalty. So there's quite a bit of things going for them, and the biggest factor, and we can't get away from this, is every other country has had to travel thousands of miles. Like Denmark had to travel something like, I think it was 6,000 miles. They had to travel to Asia and then back to England for the semi-final. Do you know what I mean? And they were knackered. You could tell that as well. So the travelling has played a huge part. England most of us travel was to Rome, and they played the easiest team in the tournament. And they've come back, and everything's been nice for them. If England were the host nation anyway, everyone would have been happy with that because everyone's got no travelling. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's in the same country. So I think a lot of things went England's way. I think if they win it, the group of players they've got, they will have a chance to win it. But I don't see it with this manager because, and I'll put a clip up on Twitter where we talked about him being pragmatic and defensive, and that's how it ended up being. You know what I mean? The attacking players we've got, I still feel, that's the way to go. That's the way to win it. I think it was Haaland or someone said it's an embarrassment that England have got all those attacking players and they've got less possession than what they did in the final.
It's the same problem, isn't it? Like, you could have watched this tournament and you could have watched the last tournament. How we performed. I don't feel like I feel like we've progressed in the togetherness, the unity amongst the group. The players are more mature, the better players. But in reality, it's still that same old problem that we've had since Gerrard and Co were around.
I still think the one good thing is I think they're defensively strong as I can remember them. But then they've given up too much going forward to be that.
It's a sacrifice.
Strong. Yeah, it's too much of a sacrifice for me, and I just felt that's probably going to be the main one anyway. So to finish off, we're going to have a look at the team of the tournament. For the viewers, it's obviously there on the screen. for the listeners, I'll go through it for you. Goalkeeper, the one and only Gianluigi Donnarumma. I have a feeling this guy's going to be playing as long as Buffon did. Donnarumma in goal. Defence was Kyle Walker at right back, Bonucci, Maguire, and Spinazzola, who for me was if he played the rest of the tournament, would have been the player of the tournament, and he was the player of the tournament before he got injured. Midfield three of Højbjerg, Jorginho, and Pedri, and then the front three of Chiesa, Lukaku, and Sterling. Thoughts, Chris? Anyone deserves to be in there?
Yeah, I was just about to make a note. Donnarumma, obviously, he's the new Buffon. It must be amazing for you to know that you're going to have this keeper as a minimum. As a minimum, he's going to be your keeper for the next 10 years, 10, 15 years. Yeah, 50, yeah. That's ridiculous. Kyle Walker, I thought he had a really solid tournament. I thought he started really poorly. I think his first game, it might have been his first game, and possibly his second game, he was horrific. But as the tournament went on, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I would probably feel a little bit unfortunate if I was, is it Mihela from Denmark? I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And he personally, he could have had a shout for player of the tournament had they went all the way to the final. I thought Spinazzola, to be honest, I wasn't too much aware of him before the tournament start, but I definitely will now. He's gone straight into my football manager team last night, actually. So absolutely no reason for him not to be there. I thought he was great. Maguire, I thought he had a really solid tournament. Obviously, everybody was talking about whether he should be playing, whether he was going to be fit for the tournament. And I'm just glad that he's not necessarily proved me wrong, because he's always been a quality defender, but he was just solid. I just thought he knew when to pass the ball, knew when to drive into midfield. I just thought he was really solid. Like you, I think Chiellini was maybe a little bit unfortunate to miss out, but you've got it like 5 players there, so stop crying. And we've got Bonucci next to him, obviously top class. He was just absolutely amazing during the final. He's got a couple of goals in the tournament.
He did.
Yeah, important goals at the time. Højbjerg, not sure about that one. You could probably correct me on that. Jorginho, he was fantastic. I think he often gets overlooked in the midfielders. When we think of the elite midfielders in the Premier League, he's kind of on that next level. I think you've maybe got De Bruyne, and then there's a load of scatter, and he kind of falls amongst that. But he stood, I think, head and shoulders above most midfielders. Probably the top midfielder in the tournament. Pedri, what a talent! He is absolutely unbelievable. When we saw him for a good half an hour, he was easily head and shoulders the best player on the pitch, and then he kind of fell off. And obviously he's been getting a lot of plaudits. Chiesa, again, he was a player that I realised his potential around about a couple of months before the season ended, especially in the Champions League game for Juventus, and he didn't disappoint once he came into the team. Like you, arguably the player of the tournament if he starts. Lukaku, I'm trying to think of someone who could have replaced him, because when you get, I think, did they get to the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
And then they were knocked out. Again, it's arguable. He did have a good tournament, but it's arguable. And I thought Sterling was brilliant. I've got no complaints with Sterling being in the team of the tournament. He was England's best player by a country mile, and as we say, respect on his name.
Yeah. No, I agree with pretty much all you said. I do think Chiellini has to be in there, even if you get 6-7. They've been unbelievably together. Højbjerg, yeah, I can see that argument. We don't want another Italy player in there, because it just absolutely, this like you can have the whole Italy team in there. I do think Dolberg from Denmark had a chance to play instead of Lukaku there. I think Chiesa and Sterling picked themselves. I think Chiesa, had he started the tournament, played the tournament. I think Spinazzola was phenomenal, and his injury, I think that's the thing that's massively overlooked. So for Italy to go and win it without their player of the tournament, best player not best player of the team, but best player of this tournament, and he was so on fire, and he gave us such an attacking threat down that left side, and then still go on to win it. I think just shows how good a team and squad they had. But yeah, no, him missing big knock blow, but obviously not big enough for them not to win it. And like you, Pedri, in that game against Italy, wow, he was just getting in those pockets. I was like, this kid's going to be an absolute player. And Luis Enrique said exactly the same, and I think he got plaudits across Europe, but he was massively, he was really, really impressive. I can't argue that tournament. It's a good team, but it still doesn't beat Euro 2000.
Yeah, it doesn't. Just your thoughts on the Lukaku up top?
Yeah, like I said, I think he did all right. I still think Kasper, I think it's Kasper, his first name, Dolberg, who plays for Denmark up front now. I thought he was really good. But then you can't have Damsgaard because then he just with like a forward full of three lads who were all wingers.
I just wanted to end it like we always say it's going to be a quick one, but it always drags on. But there's just one subject that's dear to both of our hearts. Euro 2020 aside, great tournament, absolutely brilliant. Can't wait for the World Cup next year. But speaking of the World Cup next year, we get to see our main man Messi again. Obviously, Messi won. Well, I say Messi won. Argentina won Copa America, and more importantly, Messi won his first international tournament. I was tearing up. I don't know about yourself when you saw him celebrating towards the end.
I mean, there's a story. There's a thing that that people have said. Oh, if he doesn't win a trophy for his national team, he's not going to be classed as an all-time bullshit. You know what I mean? He could never. He didn't need to win anything with Barcelona to still be classed as an all-time great. The kids, you watch him play football. It's got nothing to do with this, And then he's done stuff for Argentina that he's carried that nation for so many years, and what they did against Thingy. I mean, Di Maria was a cracking finish from Di Maria, but to be fair, I just thought I was delighted for him. Like over the moon for him, and he can see the players were his own players were. Do you know what I mean? It's just mean so. I needed time because I think he got tired of the stress of the expectation of having to do it every time. But he was just top notch, and over the moon for him. And I'm glad even though it was held in Brazil and it's Copa America was tough. We watched the game. I think it was Colombia against Argentina after the Italy-Spain game. When we got back to the hotel or Airbnb, and it was like the intensity was really high, and I was like, there's some decent teams. We know there's decent, but it's just everyone just seems to think it's Brazil and Argentina in South America. But no, they did well, and really happy for Messi.
Yeah, it was like you said, the quality of it. It was more the pace was more in tune with the Premier League than what the Euros was. Like they were just so rapid. But like you said, to win it in Brazil in the Maracana, it was absolutely amazing, and you just can't be happy enough for him. He truly deserves this, and obviously he's surrounded by a team that he finally has trust in, and they can go on hopefully and do well in the World Cup. And he's just amazing. We don't need to say any more about it. I'm just so happy for him.
Absolutely. Right, guys. As always, we get to this stage of the other podcast, and we say if you've not subscribed by now, you're doing something wrong, because you must like the stuff we've been talking about. So get down there, click that little button that says subscribe, get us up to 100. We will be doing a giveaway in the next couple of weeks in the lead up to the start of the Premier League season. So keep an eye out for that. As always, any comments, anything you think we're doing great. If we're not doing great, let us know. Your thoughts on how the Euros went. Let us know below. Anything for you, Chris?
I'm wondering what we're actually going to do, because obviously now we've got, I'd say, around about a month, maybe month to 5 weeks for the Premier League start. So we're going to have to fill that somehow, and I'm sure we'll.
We've got Olympics. We've got Olympics next week. Don't you worry about that. I've already been looking.
The Olympics football. I'll have to get into that, but. No, I think obviously we'll be doing a lot on the transfer stories. There'll be a lot of speculation. It's crazy, the crazy off season. So I'm sure we'll have loads of content coming your way. So remember to subscribe and get us up to that 100 mark and beyond. That would be great.
Cheers, guys. Until next time.
Thanks a lot.
See you. Bye.